The winner to organize the 2022 FIFA World Cup is Qatar.
A tiny peninsula jutting into the Persian Gulf, Qatar will be the smallest country ever to play host to the World Cup. In the summer, when the World Cup takes place, it's dangerously hot, up to 130 degrees at midday. To say Qatar was a controversial choice would be an understatement.
When people say, how did you win the World Cup? You know, the simplest answer, and I assure you and I promise you, it is not said in any way with any arrogance. We were the best bid.
Qatar's bid promised the most dazzling World Cup ever, with a new state-of-the-art rail system, opulent hotels, futuristic stadiums, all at an estimated cost of $200 billion. For a country with vast oil and gas reserves and the highest per capita income on the planet, the money is no issue. What Qatar doesn't have are enough laborers, so it imports hundreds of thousands from the poorest places on earth, mostly in South Asia, including India and Pakistan and Nepal.
How do Qataris view the people who are there building this vast infrastructure for a country with only 200,000 citizens?
I don't think they see them as human.
Sharon Burrow is the General Secretary of the International Trade Union Confederation, whose mission is to defend workers' rights across the globe.
If you can't find a job, if you can't feed your family, and you hear that you can make extraordinary amounts of money by comparison, as they're told, in Qatar, then you'll do anything.
There are 1.4 million migrant workers in Qatar, 94% of the labor force. To get to Qatar, they take out loans to pay recruitment agencies that place them in jobs. Once in Qatar, they're subject to a system known as kafala, which legally binds them to their employers, typically for several years.
The kafala system means you are owned by another individual. Everything you do is at the behest of another human being.
Burroughs made 12 trips to Qatar since the emirate was awarded the World Cup 4 years ago.
Qatar is a slave state in the 21st century. You sign a contract, you're really optimistic, you can send money home for your family. You arrive in Qatar, the contract is more often than not torn up in front of you and they pay you what they choose to.
By law, the migrant workers aren't allowed to live anywhere near the homes of Qatari citizens. Instead, they live here, fewer than 20 miles from the skyscrapers of the capital, Doha, on the outskirts of the city in labor camps. Risking arrest, we went to the camps without permission to film, to speak to the workers.
Is this a hard place to be?
In this camp, we spoke to a migrant worker from Nepal who came here through a recruitment agency.
Do you feel that you have rights here? That if you want to go home, you can go home at any time?
Under kafala, a migrant worker can't leave the country without an exit visa. That visa has to be approved by his employer.
Who has your passport? So you're trapped here.
At another camp, sanitation was poor. There was an overpowering smell of human waste. Several workers were washing their dishes outdoors in the dark. Others crowded into a small kitchen to prepare their evening meals.
You live in a room with 8, 10, 12 other men. The cooking facilities are just absolutely unhygienic. They're terrible, terrible places, often with, in fact, no clean water. It's a life of squalor. You are trapped in Qatar.
Most of the workers were afraid to speak to us on camera without permission from their employers. But here at this camp, they told us off camera that 3 workers living here had died in just the last few months, all from heart attacks.
If you work in such extreme heat, if you eat such poor food, if you live with emotional distress of living in squalor with no personal freedom, and if you go to work for long hours, day after day, 6, 7 days a week, then ultimately that will take a toll.
Like most of the 400,000 Nepali workers in Qatar, Dun Kamari Demai's husband Kali worked in construction. A 27-year-old father of 2, he left for Qatar just this January. 2 months later, he was dead. On the death certificate issued by the Qatari government, it says Kali died from cardiac arrest, natural causes.
एकदम राम्रो थियो केही भएको थिएन मसँग बिहा गरेदेखि टाउको दुख्ने ज्वरो आउने पनि भएको थियो के गर्ने अब अनौठै लाग्यो आँखाले नदेख्नु त मर्या पनि भन्ने लागेको थियो
Gulf country are not safe for Nepalese migrant workers. There are a lot number of people who are going to Qatar. They are dying much more.
Somatra Singh is a Nepali government official. His agency, which looks after the interests of migrant workers, keeps track of those dying abroad. In just the last 5 years, 680 Nepali workers have died in Qatar, 184 in the last year alone. Workplace accidents and suicides contribute to the total, but the deaths of most migrant workers are officially attributed to cardiac arrest.
It's not normal. Before leaving from Nepal to Qatar, they were healthy. Dying in young age is not a natural phenomenon. And they must sort out what should be done to ban this kind of death cause.
मेरो जिन्दगी नै खलास भयो नि
Saguna Rana Kawas is a 19-year-old widow. Her husband Yam died last August, 1 week after arriving in Qatar. He was 28. His death certificate states that he died from multiple traumatic injuries due to a fall from height. Saguna waited almost 3 months for his body to arrive home. Like most Hindus, Yam was cremated. His ashes scattered in this river.
पहिलाको राम्रो राम्रो कुराहरु हुन्थ्यो त्यही भएर बाबु भाइ सानो छ कसरी हुर्काउने भन्ने भयो त्यसै भयो
Saguna is now a single mother. Her son is 18 months old. The construction firm that employed her husband in Qatar says he committed suicide. She doesn't believe that, and the company has offered little help.
गाह्रो छ गाह्रो खाँदै बाबुलाई हेर्छु चित्त बुझाउँछु
You know, actually, the company doesn't want to pay anything, any compensation, you know.
Som Prasad Lamachhani is General Secretary of the Pravasi Nepali Coordination Committee. Founded by former migrant workers, it's a non-profit organization that assists women whose husbands have died overseas.
Oh, it is very difficult. All the families depends on him. It might cause that the families, their children and doesn't get well education. They don't have even the food.
What is it like being here away from your family?
दुःख लाग्छ नि लाग्नु त के गर्ने अब पैसाको लागि हिँड्नै पर्यो अब गरिब छौँ अब नेपालमा
These Nepali workers agreed to speak to us on camera, but only if we concealed their identities.
आयो मुजले खायो पियो अब भोलि उठिन्छ कि उठिँदैन भन्ने डर हुन्छ क्या अहिले सबै हो
Why are so many of your fellow Nepali foreign workers here dying on the job?
खै यो बोर्ड त नेपाली मात्र होइन हर देशको मान्छेहरू मरिरहेका छ होइन अब फिलिपिन्सको इन्डियाको बङ्गलादेशको श्रीलङ्काको
Recent figures from the Indian embassy in Qatar indicate that more than 450 Indian workers died there in 2012 and 2013.
There are no autopsies, and the Qatari officials have rung many of the embassies almost daily to tell them to deny that the numbers are abnormal. We know this firsthand from officials who are too frightened to speak out publicly. It's simply criminal.
December 28, 2013, just outside Doha, ground is broken on the first World Cup stadium. The plan is to build at least 7 more. Over the next 8 years, Qatar is expected to import another 500,000 migrant workers. Hassan Al-Thawadi is the Secretary General of the Supreme Committee for the World Cup. We made repeated requests to interview him. He refused. The Supreme Committee, a government agency, did send us some photos. This is where it says the 108 laborers now building the first stadium are living. In February, the committee also released a 50-page report mandating improved working and living conditions at all World Cup stadium sites.
Unfortunately, they're sham provisions. There is no fundamental right of collective voice. You can't join a union. There's no system of compliance. It's self-auditing by companies. This is about encouragement. Well, when you have a system that's so broken, this is a broken system, then encouragement is not going to work. It's that simple.
What kind of a failure is it on the part of the international community if in 2022 the World Cup is being held in a Qatar that resembles the Qatar of 2014?
It's insanely criminal. We say to Sef Blatter, you can do one thing for people in the world to make it a better place. Put the conditions of rights, of an end to the kafala system on the table as a price for the World Cup. The Qataris will take it. If they don't take it, they don't deserve to have the World Cup.
There is not one single doubt that the World Cup 2022 will be organized in Qatar. Decision taken by the Executive Committee on the 2nd of December 2010 and not reversible.
Sepp Blatter is the president of FIFA, soccer's world governing body. He also declined our repeated requests for an interview.
How many people are going to die so that this World Cup can take place?
Conservatively, from the figures of just 2 countries, India and Nepal, more than 4,000 workers will die before a ball is kicked off in 2022.
For young widows like Tun Kamari Demai, whatever change may come will come too late. The loan her husband took out to get to Qatar has left her heavily in debt. She has no income and less hope. As Qatar's World Cup approaches, there will only be more widows and more fatherless children.
कसरी तिर्ने भएर बरु छोराको जिम्मेन बेचेर पनि तिर्ने भयो साउले त मान्दैन नतिरेसम्म हाम्रो नेपाल छोरा नगए भए त यस्तो हुँदैन थियो अब के भयो सँगै मरुन्जेसम्म सँगै बस्ने रमाइलो गर्ने भनेको कुरा थियो